Welcome back to TMZ Sports. I'm your host, Mojo Muhtadi, and we got a massive one for y'all today. Maybe my biggest yet, because right now we have the founder of AEW Wrestling, Tony Khan, on with us. Tony, how you doing today, brother?
Fantastic, Mojo. Thanks for having me on, man.
No, this is awesome. Thank you for joining us. We've had a ton of your talent on over the years, but I believe this is our first time having you on the show. So this is really cool. First things first, let's talk about the neck brace. How is your health? How are you feeling?
I'm doing much better. I'm really blessed to be here, Mojo. I feel very fortunate to be able to talk to you after taking a Spike Piledriver. I'm not a pro wrestler. I've never been through that, and as you know firsthand, it's one of the most deadly moves in wrestling. And I think it was an unprovoked attack. Really, very scary situation. But I feel blessed to be here, and blessed the Jaguars had a great NFL draft, and blessed there's so many great things happening in AEW right now.
We're going to get to all of that in just a second. A pile driver, yes, one of the most dangerous moves in wrestling. Matter of fact, it was on the banned list my entire career, so I never even got to experience one. But here you are. The Spike Pile Driver takes it to the next level. The Elite, the Young Bucks, Jack Perry. What's that going to look like moving forward on AEW?
It's a great question. Well, it's going to lead to some very interesting scenarios. This is the first time I've ever been able to not travel. I'm not cleared to leave Jacksonville right now. We've been here for the NFL draft and AEW this past week, but the Spike Piledriver, I'm lucky I'm okay, but the doctors have not cleared me to leave Jacksonville. So I'll be running the company remotely from here, doing meetings online, great visits like this with you today on Zoom. And you know, I think it's going to create a very interesting situation at Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS this week. What's going to happen when there's some chaos, possibly? Of course, I'm going to try to chime in when I can online, but who's going to be running the show on site? It's going to be a very interesting and exciting situation.
Well, we're going to come right back to AEW wrestling. You can't travel, but luckily for you, you got AEW, you got the Jaguars right there in Jacksonville, everything right there. NFL draft, the Jaguars had an awesome draft. You went viral during the draft. You were the talk of the town, everybody asking about your neck brace. You were there with your dad, reading his face during this whole situation was awesome too. How was operating the draft and running the team in your current situation?
Well, we've got a great thing happening in Jacksonville. I'm the chief football strategy officer of the Jaguars, in addition to being the president and the head of creative for AEW. So there's a lot going on this week, and it was a lot going on in Jacksonville because we had not only the AEW events in Jacksonville this week, but also a big NFL draft and a really exciting time for the Jaguars organization. We've got a great coach, Doug Peterson. He's one of the best coaches in football, a Super Bowl winning head coach, and a brilliant football mind. And really, it was an excellent draft, I believe, for the Jaguars. The only thing I didn't enjoy about it was that I had to wear this neck brace throughout the process. It made reading the analytics sheets a bit more challenging sometimes, but overall, it was really a great draft for us. And I'm glad that it was so much attention for AEW. I think it's a really exciting time for the company. A lot of people have been introduced to AEW this week. And I know that we had a great audience for our show on Saturday. We do Collision every Saturday night on TNT. And now we've got Wednesday Night Dynamite coming up live in Winnipeg. And it's really exciting. We have the return of Kenny Omega. And to be honest with you, Mojo, for me, it's the perfect time for Kenny Omega to come back to AEW. I know Kenny Omega and I probably have some of the same enemies in AEW right now, as Kenny Omega was fired by Matthew and Nicholas Jackson out of the Elite last month. And they're on quite a run. They've become the World Tag Team Champions, winning the tournament, winning the ladder match at AEW Dynasty, and capped it off by putting me on the shelf with this Spike Piledriver. And, it's a very exciting time, though, in AEW. A lot of great things happening. And We're very excited to have Kenny Omega back and have huge matches like Adam Copeland, who you know very well, that he'll be defending the TNT championship against a member of the House of Black. We're not sure which one, but any of those three scenarios, that's a great match versus the Rated R superstar, Adam Copeland, one of AEW's biggest stars. And just a loaded lineup. Winnipeg's own Chris Jericho will be wrestling Katsuyori Shibata, one of the greatest wrestling legends ever, as you know, Mojo. And we've got very exciting action up and down the card. We've got Mariah May wrestling the Professor, Serena Deeb, somebody else you're very familiar with, Mojo. And then the AEW World Champion, the new champion, Swerve Strickland. We'll find out who he's going to be wrestling at our Double or Nothing pay-per-view. And that's the 5-year anniversary of AEW. And it's a really exciting time for the company. We're approaching our 5-year anniversary show, and just so many great things happening in AEW right now.
Yeah, goodness gracious. I mean, the company is on absolute fire right now. You guys have just been delivering burner after burner. Everything has been fantastic. So really cool as a wrestling guy to see what you've done for the industry and how many people you've helped out along the way. Of course, maybe a couple of people taking advantage recently with that neck brace around your neck, but we're returning Kenny Omega should be a very interesting situation surrounding that. And then you got the Jaguars as well, man. You just drafted a ton of new players. We ever going to see some of these guys come over and cross over into the ring back and forth, maybe?
I would love that. I think that's a great thing. I know some of the Jaguars players were very upset about what happened to me. And that's something to keep an eye on, too. I think that the Jaguars players follow AEW really closely. A lot of the NFL players follow it. Every week on the road, people come up to me, people at the stadiums, all kinds of people, whether it's the opposing coaches and opposing players, the security at the stadiums, the people working the concessions every week in the NFL, whether it's here in Jacksonville or when I go on the road, people always come up and talk about AEW. And it's one of those things that's really amazed my dad. You know, he was not a big wrestling fan coming into this, and he's become a fan of AEW, and he really enjoys watching it. He, you know, obviously was at the show last week, as everybody saw, when he came out at the end of Dynamite to check on me. And I love having him at the shows. I was, you know, it's unfortunate that's the way he had to come out and make his first appearance on AEW Dynamite, but it meant a lot that he came out to check on me, and it was cool that the fans were so happy to see him. He's one of the biggest names and most important people in professional football, and to me, he's one of the greatest success stories, and he embodies what the American dream's all about, for somebody to come here with basically nothing and build up everything he has from scratch. And I'm very blessed to be a part of it.
That's awesome, man. And I'm sure it was his first appearance, but absolutely not going to be his last. I'm sure there's plenty more there. And it's really cool to see what you guys have done with all of your sports organizations. It really has been unbelievable. And to your point, man, I mean, hey, talking about pro wrestling, I came from the NFL before my pro wrestling career myself, and seeing, you know, the football players come to the shows and just be completely blown away by the spectacle, the lights, the performers, the athletes, just everything. It really just blows their minds in a way they possibly couldn't have fathomed. You at the draft, I mean, you were the talk of the town, right? All of the football crowd was talking about Tony Khan and the Jaguars. I feel like you went viral in a few different ways, actually, and you had that interview with NFL Network that certainly made its rounds, talking about the competition and a couple of comparisons. How was the reception after that, moving forward?
Well, I think that we got tons of coverage for AEW, and I think it is important to say, I think AEW is the best wrestling company in the world in many ways. I think that we have the best wrestlers, the best matches. We've been putting on the best shows. I think the best pay-per-view events this year have been the two AEW events, AEW Dynasty, where we crowned the new world champion Swerve Strickland, unfortunately maybe new tag team champions, the Young Bucks, and the return of Jack Perry. And we had one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen, Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson. Again, Bryan Danielson, somebody you know very well, Mojo, one of the greatest wrestlers ever. And then the prior pay-per-view, had so many great matches. Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston, FTR versus Claudio Castagnoli and Jon Moxley, Will Ospreay versus Takeshita. So many great matches up and down the card. And then, of course, Sting's retirement. And to me, it's the greatest thing I've ever been a part of in my life, let alone pro wrestling. And to say that we gave Sting such a great send-off, it was one of the greatest moments, I think, ever in wrestling, to see Sting go out on top. He was undefeated in AEW. He won every match. And Sting and Darby Allin, who's over my right shoulder right now, they're the world tag team champions for life. They were not only just a great team, a great partnership in the ring, but also a great collaboration outside the ring too. They're brothers for life. And we were able to give Sting a tribute before the match. And then he and Darby went out and wrestled one of the greatest matches ever against the Young Bucks. And I think it is the greatest send-off in professional wrestling. And, you know, there's so many great things that have happened in AEW this year. And I'll hold our track record up on anything, whether it's the quality of the shows, the safety, the travel, the hotels, and, you know, everything we do in and out of the ring. I think AEW is the very best.
And you guys have just undeniably changed the game in every facet for the entire business. And it has been so awesome to see as a fan. Tony, I know you're incredibly busy. Not only do you have a lot going on with AEW, the Jaguars, but you also have a neck injury right now. So thank you so much for spending so much time with us here today. It's been awesome to get to chat with you, my friend.
It's great to see you. You know, I'm just moving stuff across offices here, and I'm embarrassed my bookshelf's empty. So it'll be, I assure you, it'll be filled up with books very soon. Big reader. So it's really nice to have you here, and also just great to see you again and spend time with you, Mojo. You're such a great guy, and I think the world of you. And I wish I could have seen you when I was 100%. But maybe I'll make it out there to see you in person at some point again. And I just really wanted to compliment you on everything you're doing with TMZ. You've had such an interesting career and such an interesting life to go from the world of football to go to wrestling and be in entertainment. And as somebody who has worked in all three worlds, I have so much respect for you and what you're doing. And it's nice to see you, Mojo.
Tony, you're the man, brother. I really, really, truly appreciate that, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy.